Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. My name is Alexandra Alvarado, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Education here at the American Apartment Owners Association. So glad that you can join us today. We have with us Chris. Chris is the Chief Strategy Officer at SKBM Tech, and she's going to be talking today about all things related to smart tech for your rental buildings. And we are thrilled to have you, Chris. Before we start, I just want to give you guys my typical reminders. We are recording this full session for you, and we will be emailing it to you tomorrow, along with any other resources that Chris is going to share. And we will also be sharing her contact info for her team, so you can get in contact with any questions if we don't get to all of them. Speaking of questions, if you have questions, put them in the question box, please, and not the chat. That helps us to keep better track of it. We are going to be, listening to Chris for a bit, and then at the end, we'll be doing questions, and we'll have some polls throughout to kind of keep things a little more engaging for you all. We want to hear exactly what you guys are doing for your properties now, and we can, base our webinar presentation on that. So Chris is, as I mentioned, the Chief Strategy Officer at SKBM Tech. She has been in the industry for many, many years and has helped some of the largest property management companies in the country with their tech solutions. And now SKBM Tech not only does this for those big companies, but for smaller ones too. So I am really excited to have you, Chris. We have a lot to learn from you, and I know our members are also excited to hear from you. So I will pass this along to you. I know I'm sharing the presentation today, so let me get that started. Just a moment. Okay, let's see if this will...
It's always a problem, right? We sell
I know.
technology and then technology doesn't work and yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can get this to move on here, because it's sharing it on a different screen. So I just want to make sure that it is going to there it is. And we love it when it works, right?
We love it when it works. Technology
Here.
is awesome when it works. But that's part of what we're here to do, right? Make sure that it
Yes.
works for you. And thank you, Alexandra. You are amazing as always. And I am very excited about being here today because I'm very fond of small to mid-size owners in multifamily because you have, you're struggling with self-management or, trying to get tech vendors to even talk to you and things like that. And I just think it is a shortcoming of prop tech in multifamily that we're not addressing your needs. So I'm very excited to talk to you all today. And I am a talker. So if anybody has questions, please reach out. You are going to get my contact information. As Alexandra said, tomorrow I am always here to answer questions. So this is, like I said, very exciting for me. I am Chris Kimber. I'm Chief Strategy Officer of SKBM Smart Technology. We are a one-stop shop for prop tech and multifamily. You can think of us as a prop tech concierge in what is I have before worked owner operator side. I was with Greystar. I was with CBRE. And so I understand your pain. You have been through it. And what we're trying to accomplish at SKBM is to alleviate some of that pain, or the most of that pain that we can possibly alleviate and bring you solutions that really meet your needs. I Alexandra, rather, am I allowed to read the questions? Because I just saw one come in. Through the
Yes,
chat.
you absolutely can. You do have access to that. So feel free
Yeah,
as you
and
see
it's a
them.
really good question.
Okay, we'll take it then.
It's a really good question. And somebody just chatted in and said, what is smart tech? And that is an amazing question because smart tech can mean so many different things. I will tell you that where we focus is like on physical prop tech technology. So things like access controls, unit locks, smart thermostats, leak detectors, EV charging, like those kind of physical Internet of Things devices that make property management easier or provide cost efficiencies or improve tenant experience. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say we lost you there for a second, Alexandra. We're back now. But like when you think about smart tech in general, there are things like, I think about leasing admin. I think about maintenance. There are tons of apps out there that streamline maintenance, and we try to pull those in. But I mean, honestly, smart tech can mean um, so many things. And that's why, like, when I get asked, like, what's the best tech solution for multifamily? I'm like, there is no best tech solution in a broad sense. There is a best tech solution in a very specific sense, or for a property or for a portfolio. And so I think it really, smart tech can mean a lot of things. It depends a lot on the use cases you're trying to enable. And so, and like I said, my area of expertise is more in prop tech, but I know enough to be dangerous in a lot of other areas of technology. Give us an example of how your clients use. David A, could you clarify ODST? I'm happy to answer that question. But while I'm waiting for David to clarify, I will just say, so I came into, I'm my dark secret. Oh yes. And David, I'll answer that for you in a second. My dark secret is I'm actually an archaeologist by training. I came into, and if anybody wants to discuss archaeology, I'm like 100% on board. But I came into technology through telecom in 2008. Like I said, I've worked owner operator side doing technology strategy for major companies, major property management companies. It is a topic I'm very passionate about it. I do believe that it is about technology strategy and not being transactional or deploying point solutions, like really having that strategy at future proof to me is not a thing. There's future flexible, but being future flexible over time and really thinking about, okay, I've got the budget or the need for these things this year, and we can expand that over time. So Alexandra, I don't know why I keep calling you Alexia. Alexandra, I think we have a question. Oh, well, let me answer David first. So he asked, when our clients are using smart tech. And like I said, it really depends on what they're trying to enable. I'll talk about it in a little bit, but a lot of, there's tons of chatter and movement around centralization in multifamily. There's always a staffing problem. um Tenant retention is huge, and so it really depends. Like, we are seeing, it's like, in the past 3 days I've had discussions with clients, and they're like, all I want right now is leak detectors, because I'm trying to reduce risk, right? And maybe even get a break on my insurance premium. And then David wants to know, example, for some reason, our water bill increases bi-monthly in a 4-unit building. How can you help? Oh, that's a, David, if you could email me tomorrow offline here, I'm definitely willing to talk through that with you. I would need some detail there on why you're seeing that, but absolutely. But Alexandra, I believe we have a question that we wanted to kick off with here.
Yes, we do. How would you rate the importance of technology in property management on a scale of 1 to 5? Not important to extremely important, which is 5. And we'll see what you all have to say. I'll give you a little bit of time to put that into the chat. Let's give you just a second here. All right. So let's see here. I have almost half of you have responded. So I'm going to go ahead and show the results. Chris, you'll be able to see them.
Awesome. Well, I like this answer. This
I
is
do
great.
too.
I
No one
mean,
said not important.
no one said not important. Well, and I mean, I think the thing is that technology, of course, is becoming more important over time, especially, and I know everybody likes to talk about AI and, they want to deploy, they want devices that like IoT devices that are going to make their lives easier, their tenants' lives easier. I will say that like I think it is extraordinarily important to deploy the right technology to when you're managing properties, but you really got to again think about what use cases you're trying to enable and make sure that you're not deploying tech for tech's sake, right? But it is, I mean, it's not like prop tech, smart home, smart building is not table stakes yet, but we're going to get to that point. And I mean, one of the things we're looking at though is and this is like a topic that is near and dear to my heart, is, technology is important, but we're deploying it. Are we really using the data well? And so I think, and I'll talk about this later, but like one of the things is it is extraordinarily important, but you got to make sure you're getting the full value out of it. And to that point, we've got a white paper with parks that came out about 2 weeks ago. If you go to the Parks Associates website, it's on ROI. And the focus is beyond charging a tech amenity fee. Like, where are you seeing cost savings, operational efficiencies, things like that from prop tech? So the Parks Associate. And David, I see you. Yes, please. But it is a very good read on the true value of tech in multifamily. And Alexandra, I think before we move, well, you can do that one, yes. But I think you guys know me, and know me now. But like before we go to the next slide, I think we have, or maybe let's go to the next slide and let's ask the question about solutions that are being deployed.
Great, yes. So we have, which prop tech solution are you most interested in learning more about? And we have several different options here. Access control, so that includes smart locks and security systems like cameras, community Wi-Fi. We have a lot of work from home folks now. That's an important one. Self-guided tours, great for being hands-off or remote. Parking management and electric vehicle charging stations. I know a lot of you all are in California. That might be important to you if you're in this state. Looks like we're really, I mean, I'm in California. Looks like we might be at the forefront of the electric vehicle movement. So,
100%, 100%.
yes. Okay. So it looks like more than half of you have responded. So I'll go ahead and share the results. And Chris, you can see them there. A little bit of
That's
everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, but I expected access controls to be at the forefront. I mean, risk management, securing the properties, is especially in this market with capital constrained, like the access control systems are, really important. Security systems, the same thing. Community Wi-Fi, um, not surprised that it's only at 38%, but honestly, I mean, one of the things that I've been talking with a lot of people about recently is thinking about connectivity and digital infrastructure in multifamily as opposed to just Wi-Fi, right? I mean, community Wi-Fi is fantastic. It delivers superior speeds. It's usually less expensive than if you, if you have retail Wi-Fi, you can provide superior service at a lesser cost to your tenants, which is of course fantastic. But there are other things that community Wi-Fi enables, like connectivity for your smart home devices. And so, it, I mean, it is, if you're doing like managed Wi-Fi, the capital expense can be quite exorbitant, but and I am actively seeking them all the time. There are options out there for, um, okay, David, I'll answer you in just a second. But there are options out there for community Wi-Fi that are going to provide you that enhanced tenant experience, that revenue generation, but that also are going to provide you with that enablement for your other technologies in the property. Self-guided tours, of course, it's funny. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they're like, I don't trust self-guided tours because somebody will damage the apartment when they're touring it. But again, there are options out there for self-guided tours where they mitigate that risk dramatically. Parking management, not surprised by the low response there. It really is. Parking management is really market dependent. And then EV charging stations, like Alexandra said, like there are certain very hot markets for EV charging, like California. I would say that going forward, there's a little softening in, the EV car market right now, but we're going to reach a point where there are going to be a lot more of them out there. So, it's always good to keep an eye on. And David, you asked me, is, a service or an add-on to management. So it's a service. We offer a service. So we will consult with you on what the appropriate prop tech solution is for your property or properties. We do not charge for that consultation process. That is included. And then we have strategic partnerships in place with prop tech firms in different technology verticals, so that when you say to us, okay, I need to secure my building. This is a Class B building in Omaha, but I really need to secure it. I'm a short-term holder. We can then come back to you and say, okay, for that specific instance, here are the solutions we recommend. So we're vendor agnostic. I will say though, that doesn't mean we'll just sell anything. Everybody on our team has extensive experience with prop tech in multifamily. We know what works and what doesn't work, and which providers are going to provide the ongoing support and the easy deployments. And so we really are consultative and like I said, strategic, not tactical, in delivering you technology solutions. So I'm not here to tell you that I'm selling one solution and it's one size fits all. What we do, like I said, is we're a technology concierge and we're really going to listen to your needs. We've all been on the real estate side and deliver to you a solution that is going to enable your use cases. And then I will say also the other benefit here, as long as we're on this SKBM Smart Tech page, is that we've installed over 450,000 units of smart home and over 2,000 properties of access controls. That has all been with our own crews. They've all been with us 10 to 15 years. I'm sure some of you have deployed smart home or managed Wi-Fi or what have you on your properties, and the pain point, especially in a retrofit, becomes the install where, well, we've done it over and over again. And my COO has informed me to stop saying we don't mess up. I know we mess up occasionally, but uh like we're a turnkey service here. We're going to design the solution for you. We're going to install it. It's white glove install. And it is I mean, I do believe superior to what else is out there in terms of service. So just to get back to the slide here, yeah, like I said, we're a leader. We've installed a ton of stuff. We are talking about the full value of prop tech in multifamily. We have partnered with a company called PropTech IQ. Every one of our proposals contains a 3-page report based on 5 years worth of data that tells you where your ROI is going to come from, and not just a tech amenity fee, operational efficiencies, cost savings, things like that, and where your impacts to NOI are going to be based on the specific solutions that we recommend. We do offer a range of services. If you go to our website, you'll see everything we offer. We're to a certain extent, we don't want to get out over our skis, but we are growing that range of products. Because like I said earlier, like one of the problems with prop tech and multifamily is like, we're not using the data well. There are solutions out there now that use the data well. So, we are, constantly, seeking out additional products and services to improve our tech stack. And we are absolutely committed to driving efficiency and sustainability and profitability. I mean, it's what we do. Okay, can we go next slide, Alexandra? Key trends shaping the industry. Well, I was thinking about this. I mean, everybody's talking about centralization. If you go to any, I'm maybe some of you were at Apartmentalize last week, centralization, a big topic. A lot of talk around risk mitigation because of the cost of insurance. Also, everybody's seeking solutions to reduce churn in tenants because the cost of renewal is minimal, whereas the cost of attracting and signing up a new tenant, you've got 1, 2, 3 months without rent. Everybody's looking for tenant retention strategies. And then there is a lot of attention on technology to do things like build community. I think it was multifamily executive. Actually, it was Butterfly MX. It was interesting. Butterfly MX has a current trends article that I was looking at a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things they said for future trends was this building community, and you see more and more tech firms coming into the multifamily space, um, that that's their goal, right? Is to build community, to improve that tenant experience and to retain tenants over time. And I'm thinking about my previous position with Greystar, like that was one of their big initiatives, right? Was to create that B2C experience with tenants so that they could keep them through the life cycle, student, conventional, yeah, active adult. And so, BTR. But yeah, so there is, in terms of trends, like I think there are certain things we're all circling around. I would say that one of them that we need to become more serious about, we are seeing increased adoption with managed Wi-Fi, with bulk Wi-Fi. But I mean, in terms of enabling tech, that connectivity piece is your baseline. And so one of the things that I talk about a lot, and honestly, I have been talking about since I was at CBRE, was yes, we need to have technology in real estate. That is inevitable. But in order to enable that technology, we've got to have the connectivity in place first. So I think there are a lot of trends. I think we're all using a lot of technology to try and accomplish these things, these trends like centralization. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I do think there are a lot of new players in the space that are going to help everybody on this call enable those long-term goals. And then when you talk about challenges faced by property managers in staying competitive, um, it's interesting. I don't know if anybody follows Jay Parsons on LinkedIn, um, but he had a post either yesterday or today that got a lot of conversation going on LinkedIn, where he presented data that self properties managed by large management companies have a lower vacancy rate than properties that are self-managed. And I mean, I recommend going to read through the large number of comments on that discussion, because it was like, things like, yeah, but maybe these large management companies have properties in, better locations, or they're newer, or they've deployed more tech. And so it was a really interesting discussion, but I think it speaks a lot to the challenges of property managers, particularly in small to mid-market properties where, you don't have the buying power of, a larger company. But I think there are still, and you maybe don't have a team of people assessing assessing prop tech or other technologies, operational technologies, to ease management or stay competitive or whatever. And so I think that one of the big challenges for property managers is finding a trusted advisor in the marketplace, who is going to help you stay competitive, but is again not going to sell you tech for tech's sake. I mean, I used to have clients come to me and be like, "Oh, I want to do biometric readers for access controls," and I'm like, "Well, it's a fabulous technology, but like, what are you trying to enable there?" So, I mean, I think the largest challenge for property managers and staying competitive is finding a technology advisor that is going to vet the vendors and give you advice and real world examples of why you should deploy technology in your property to stay competitive, because it's not the same for every market. It's not the same for every property. And so I think that right there is one of the major challenges. I think everybody on this call knows they need technology on some level, but um, I was at a show maybe a month ago that was focused on mid-market, and I mean, um, I was talking to people and they're like, well, I self-manage, I've deployed all these point solutions, and it's made my life harder, not easier. And the large tech firms won't talk to me because I'm too small. And like, I just, for the people on this call, I just like want to say that I understand that challenge for you. And that's one of the reasons we're here. Alexandra, you want to go to the next one for me, please? Okay. So if anybody wants a prop tech 101, please reach out to me separately. But I mean, there are a lot of benefits to deploying prop tech as long as you're deploying the right prop tech, right? And that's a challenge. Um, um, I see David. David, you and I got to talk offline. I want to answer all your questions. I will spend an hour on the phone with you. But there are benefits. If you think about kind of things that seem very tactical, but if you think about, you deploy smart locks, access controls, and unit locks, you don't have to rekey anymore. Key management is from what I understand, what everybody has told me, is a huge pain point in multifamily. So it's there are these benefits to like key management, like you can manage vacants, you can make sure that you don't have to have a maintenance person or leasing staff go around to all your vacants at the end of the day and reset thermostats and all that kind of all of that kind of thing. You have a tenant experience where whether you call it curb to couch or sidewalk to sofa, makes it so your tenants can get into the building, access the package room, access the amenities, access their unit lock, control their thermostat, all through their mobile device. And when you think about how, as you have people move out of student housing into conventional, it becomes really important to have those technology enabled tenant experiences in place, because as Gen Z moves into their own apartments, they expect that technology, right? And so, and I mean, I think about like, even my mom, who's not a young woman, but like there are certain expectations about technology in apartment spaces. And the other thing is like through the use of technology, and you want to improve tenant experience, there are apps out there, there are platforms that do provide this community experience that make your properties stickier to tenants, right? They want to stay because you're providing such a good tenant experience. So there are, and like I said, happy to give specific examples. If anybody wants to reach out to me on the side, I do again recommend the white paper with Parks Associates, but they're one of my talking points, and I get in trouble for saying it, is if you're deploying prop tech for that tech amenity fee, you're kind of wasting your money. Like there's so much more to be had from prop tech than a tech amenity fee, and there's pushback on fees, and we all know the tenant bill of rights may or may not be coming. And so and I hate the term junk fees because they're not junk fees, right? And in large part, but like there are actually there is actually value to deploying prop tech beyond that. Like that doesn't have to be where your ROI comes from, and you can be strategic and phase it over time. And again, just depends on what you're trying to enable. I have keyless lock. Do the tenants have a right to demand a key for the door? I honestly, I have dealt with this before for the entrance door. Hey, Svetlana, can you email me on, oh, okay. Well, Dorian says yes. But email me on the side about that one, and I will just confirm what Dorian says there. But I mean, yeah, I think he is in, or they are indeed correct. That you're gonna have to allow them to have a key. In terms of the types of prop techs available, top prop tech, um, uh, available, like I said, like there's a broad array of prop tech available. And like for those of you who were at Apartmentalize last week, or have attended OpTech in the past, you will know that that is a very wide array of tech, and it continues to grow. And we're seeing some consolidation, and we're seeing some, not as much, but some disaggregation. But there's a lot of consolidation in prop tech, I think, going on right now. I mean, for me and for SKBM, the major types of prop tech that we like to discuss are perimeter and amenity access controls. What I'll call smart home, although I like the term smart building better. And in terms of smart home, it would be unit lock, smart thermostat, leak detectors, as kind of a baseline. And we managed bulk Wi-Fi is something other than retail Wi-Fi, because of the benefits of, it's not so much there with bulk yet, but I'm working on it. But the ability to connect your IoT devices with managed Wi-Fi, and there is a clear ROI, are really important. We do talk about EV chargers, but I think that one of the problems with tech in real estate in general is you see a lot of new tech coming to the market that looks exciting, but doesn't actually solve for a real estate problem. And so we are trying to provide the breadth of prop tech that we feel is valuable without, again, trying to solve for a non-issue. In terms of benefits, this is very market dependent. But I think this is also dependent on, one of the things I've been talking with people about is kind of technology as brand. If you think about one of the trends that I forgot to mention, which is this kind of, at least among some of the larger players, a move towards more of a hospitality model for multifamily. I mean, if you think about like the Marriotts, the Hiltons of the world, their kind of tech package, is central to their brand. And so, I mean, one of the things I've seen, with prop tech in multifamily is like people will spend on it, and then and I have been to hundreds of property websites. They'll spend on it, but then they won't advertise it. So I mean, I do believe that depending on the market, that prop tech does enhance your competitiveness. Like you have markets, if you think about, say, Silicon Valley, I know that's an extreme example, but like where there is this high expectation for technology in multifamily, it does increase your competitiveness. And I think we're seeing that spread to other smaller markets. Um, but again, like you can't put it in and then not talk about it, right? It's like I was doing some work at the end of last year for a managed Wi-Fi provider who I've known for a long time, and he showed me a slide with 3 properties. They had new developments they had just finished, and the on-site staff was thrilled. The tenants were thrilled. Ownership was thrilled. And I went to the 3 websites, and none of them mentioned managed Wi-Fi. And not that you would call it managed Wi-Fi, but like none of them said like, oh, well, you can for, $70 a month, you can get gigabit speed and it's instant on and no need to wait for the Comcast tech to show up. So I think it definitely enhances property competitiveness, again, depending on the specific situation, but that you've really got to make the most of it, right? You've got to market it. You've got to put it out there. You've got to tell your prospective tenants why it's going to why they want to move to your property because of X, Y, and Z. Um, Again, with the community building apps out there, and there are a lot of technology solutions around, um, uh, well, one, the whole curb to couch or whatever you want to call it experience is fantastic for tenants. They don't have to worry about a key. They can, depending on how much tech you deploy in a unit, like they can control their whole unit. They can integrate their Alexa device, like everything's controlled with one app. Like, I mean, everybody's looking for the one app to rule them all, and we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. But if you look at like the NMHC survey from any year recently, and at Greystar, we did our own internal survey. Tenants are expecting this, increased technology in their units, and it does lead to greater satisfaction and higher tenant retention. So depending on what technology you deploy, I mean, you're going to see that tenant sat go up. And I think one of the most powerful ways to do that is with a really robust, elegant tenant experience app that integrates all your tech and provides them with rewards and the ability to get into the building and to access all the amenities and to book the party room and things like that. And then I mean prop tech in general can optimize operations. I think the most glaring example, which I know everybody's not on board with, is self-guided tours. Just as an example, Greystar's new, it just started last year, I believe. Affordable housing division was driving over 100 leases a month using nothing but self-guided tours, very minimally staffed properties. I mean, so that's like a kind of big example. But again, there are things like key management. There are things like automating move-in, move-outs, like automating maintenance requests. So there's a lot to be had for prop tech, and especially, if you're trying to self-manage and you have a strategy, there are things you can do that are not going to break the bank, that are going to make that self-management or easier, and that are going to help you optimize operations. And then of course there are options to boost revenue streams. Um, uh, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the tech amenity fee, but it is out there. Bulk and managed Wi-Fi definitely offer a clear boost in revenue stream. If you're not, say, I mean, there are markets in California where that's limited. Colorado, of course, with the law that came into effect last year, limits how much you can make for um smart home and managed Wi-Fi and things like that. But and um we'll see what happens with the FCC's proposed rulemaking from earlier this year. But I mean, I've talked to attorneys and NMHC and NAA and providers, and the general um response on that proposed rulemaking, which would limit um uh the amount of revenue you can make off of managed Wi-Fi, is that um it's going to be an opt-out system and not an opt-in system. So like I was on the phone with a managed Wi-Fi provider this morning, who for one has a price point that's maybe 50% of what you would get with a traditional system, works just as well, enables IoT. And what they said to me is, like, if that proposed rulemaking goes into place, it is literally a flip of a switch for us. And we go into individual billing mode and everything continues. So, I mean, I know that bulk managed Wi-Fi is a big part of revenue in when you're deploying prop tech, and everybody's a little concerned about the FCC, but I do think that that revenue stream is going to continue. Alexandra, I feel like we missed a poll question.
Yeah, we can definitely launch the next one here.
Yeah, the
So,
one on
yeah.
frequency. Yeah.
Yeah. How frequently do you update your technology solutions in line with industry advancements? And we have regularly every 1 to 2 years, occasionally every 3 to 5 years, rarely every 5+ years, or never. And I know they have what's called a tech decade, is really, as they say, not a decade.
No.
So
You're
it
talking
moves
5 to 7 years,
Yes.
like, and it's like, even, well, like like there's a Wi-Fi equipment provider that I just delivered the keynote at their executive summit recently. And one of the reasons I like their product is, one, it's a lower price point than the big dog in the industry, and everybody can guess who that is, without naming any names. But like, one is that their access point has 3 radios, and one of them, the third one, you flip the switch and you're on Wi-Fi 7, right?
Mhm.
So you're not going to have to, I mean, Wi-Fi 8's coming, Wi-Fi 9's coming, it's all, I was just talking to somebody earlier today, and they're like, it's all moving so fast. But like, when you think about how the cost of refresh, you want a solution like that that'll at least get you 5 years, right?
Definitely. Okay, let me show the poll results here. So a lot in the bulk of rarely, tied with occasionally, and a few nevers. So,
I'm not seeing Alexandra,
oh, did I not share? There we go.
there we go.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's interesting. I mean, the regularly is actually probably a little higher than I would expect, even though it's low at 10%. But like, when you're talking about the cost of refreshing technology, occasionally or rarely makes much more sense. But like I said, you've just got to make sure you're investing in those future flexible technologies that are going to stand at least certain tests of time. You want to move on to we're running out of time here, Alexandra. And so, like,
All right.
in terms of key considerations when evaluating prop tech solutions, um, again, it does depend on what you're trying to enable. But like, what use cases are you trying to enable to actually have a solution that's going to enable that? There are some firms out there, actually a great number of them, that are going to tell you their solution is one size fits all. I would fight back against that. There's rarely, if ever, a one size fits all solution. One of the things is like you want to make sure that you're working with somebody who can integrate a bunch of solutions into one cohesive package for you, because you don't want to end up having, you don't want your property staff going into 5, 6, 7, 8 different applications to manage the property. You don't want your tenants having to go into multiple apps to access their unit or whatever. And so like, and you have to be real careful with integrations. You kind of need to dig into them to see how deep they are, because a lot of companies out there will say, oh yeah, we're integrated with Yardi, RealPage, and Trada. And then it turns out that integration is only a data push twice a day from the PMS. And so you deploy self-guided tours, for example, and because that integration is one way, somebody comes and tours, it doesn't show up in your CRM. So, I mean, there is, and I understand that's technical and happy, to help you through that, but like, you do have to think about the integrations and making sure you have this cohesive solution about budget. And then you also need to think about the market you're sitting in. And so, it's, you know, you want to look, is there a new property? Is there, a property down the road that they just upgrade? It's a lot of mystery shopping and things like that. But those are the key considerations, I think, when evaluating prop tech solutions. And the only thing I would add is there are some startup solutions out there, particularly around risk management, that I feel are worth the risk because the price point is so low and the benefit is so big in deploying, even though they're startups. But in general, you want a company that's been around a while and you want to see that they've deployed successfully. So, like I said, there are some tempting things out there with startups, but I mean, unless you really want to be bleeding edge and you have the resources to do an engineering evaluation of the solution, I think when you're evaluating prop tech solutions, you really want to stick with the established company. I've already given an overview of prop tech solutions, access controls, security systems. Security cameras have become, they've been this way for some time, but they are so sophisticated. And they're cloud-based and they're easy to install. And the security is just such a huge problem in multifamily, like highly recommend looking at some kind of security camera system. Community Wi-Fi, like I said, you've got to have that connectivity in place before you start building out and you want to make sure everybody's cell phone works and things like that. Self-guided tours can be a big win, especially if you're looking at decreasing, maybe not in firing people, but it's hard to keep property staff. I think what's 40-50% churn a year. So self-guided tours are definitely an option. Parking management, depending on the market, and then EV charging is here to stay. So eventually, and it's a very complicated space. I do not pretend to be an expert in it, but if anybody needs help on EV charging, I have some awesome resources that are willing to talk to you just to kind of answer questions. And it's depending on the size of your portfolio, you've got to work with something that's scalable and that integrates with what you have. Like one of the deal breakers for me with smart home is if it doesn't integrate with the PMS, because you're just not going to get the full value out of the system. So you really do want something that's going to end. Uh, Somebody just said something nice to me. Thank you. You really do want to, pay attention to, again, you don't want to make you don't want to make your tenants' lives more difficult. You don't want to make your staff's life more difficult. So those integrations are fundamental to getting the full value out of smart home. And Alexandra, I think that's my last slide.
Yeah, let's see here. We have industry advancements and updates. We did touch on this
I
a little
touched on that.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other question, at least for the poll that we haven't launched yet, is what's the main consideration when evaluating prop tech solutions? So we may want to do that one now just to kind of
Sure
start
thing.
to wrap this up. And then ending with next steps in the meantime. So I know we are close to our hour mark, but certainly if you have time, Chris, to stay longer to take questions, you all can put your questions in the question box so we can see them there and go through them with you. I'm going to leave the poll question up, and Chris, maybe you can talk about some next steps and in the
Yeah,
meantime.
no, I mean, absolutely, Alexandra, and thank you. It's, yes, you can um visit our website. There is a place to book an appointment that would be with me, and that is, of course, free of charge. Um, Also, Alexandra is going to send around my contact information tomorrow. I I am available by text, phone, email. Please don't leave me a voicemail. Like, I'm the worst at voicemail. Fully admit, like, it's like a fax for me. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I am always here to answer any questions. Like, if you just need to call me and say, hey, if you need to text me and say, hey, I just need 15 minutes, here's what I'm trying to solve for. Like, I am more than happy to get on the phone with you. Like I said, I'm very passionate about this stuff. I understand that what we do is not going to be for everyone, but like I said, we do have we've spent a lot of time and energy developing um solutions, tech solutions for small to mid-market owner operators. And I think honestly, if anybody reached out to me and told me what they were trying to solve for and we talked through it, that they would be surprised um what we can do for them, outside of spending $600,000, right? I mean, there's a lot out there in the market, and we've really engaged with a lot of strategic partners that share our passion for not chasing the whales, right? And so like I said, yeah, I encourage you, like, any questions, please reach out to me, and I am more than happy to engage. I'm a talker, as you can tell. I will get on the phone with you. Um I see that cost effectiveness here is the leading driver. Yep, I get it. Read the white paper, please.
Yes. And so to reiterate, we will be sending that white paper to you all tomorrow. It is a fantastic resource that Chris and her team have worked on, and it is definitely worth the read. And I will say, one of the most exciting things about working with you, Chris, and SKBM is that for so many years, at least when I started, working at AAOA 10 years ago, none of these solutions were available, and the ones that were starting to pop up were not meant for the small to mid-size landlords and
Yeah.
property managers, and it was really out of reach. And now it's different, and SKBM is one of those few companies that really has access to so many different solutions that it really makes it easier for you to make a decision. I think a free consult is fantastic and worth taking advantage of so that you can really narrow down what your options are, because now we have the opposite problem. There are too many options, and there are too many to choose from. Some of them are more expensive than others. Some of them might make sense for you, some might not.
Well,
And
yeah,
so
yeah, and you don't always, the cheapest option might not always be the best, but we can talk through the value prop with you. And the other thing is, like I said earlier, like, we've partnered with PropTech IQ. Every one of our proposals is going to have an impact analysis in it that's going to tell you where your ROI is coming from, what your impacts, and the whole intention of us providing that to you is to give you some level of comfort that if I spend this money, I'm actually going to get benefit out of it.
exactly. And that's the most important thing. I mean, cost effectiveness is part of it, but any cost doesn't make sense if you're not going to get something out of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So even if you get a really good deal, you got to still find a way to make that ROI make sense. And so what's nice too about what you all do is you do a lot of those calculations for your clients. And so, I mean, you should feel really confident after, you make a decision, and SKBM can help you with that. And Chris is
Well,
so
and
generous too you're so generous with your time, honestly,
oh,
because I
well,
don't know how you do
I
it.
mean, I like I said, I love talking to people, but like, no, but the one more thing I wanted to say is like, also
Mhm.
we're driving solutions for mid-market. Like with our strategic partners, um, we are saying, okay, like, yeah, that's a great solution. If you've got a high rise in New York City, fantastic. But like, that is not what's going to serve most of the market, right? We're, garden style retrofits, things like that. Like, so we have, I can't disclose with who, but we're in development on a smart home product that is specifically for mid-market, because we're like, it's like, I that's where we need to be. I
Yeah.
mean, that's who we have to serve,
And
right?
that's
Like,
most of you on the call today, by the way. If
yeah,
you're wondering, mid-market, am I mid-market? Yes, I'm sure many of you, most of you are going to fit into that category, which is just great. Because like you said, there aren't that many, and it's great that you're doing this with those particular providers too, because, they don't really know unless you're talking to them and telling them what this market needs, right? The mid-market, the smaller operators that really, I mean, these decisions hit your wallet a lot harder than they do for the large corporations out there.
yeah, yep. But there's still benefit to be had, and there are budget friendly options that are going to get you where you need to be.
I love that. If you're okay with ending on that, Chris,
Yeah.
yeah, let's wrap it up here. And for those of you who asked any questions, Chris can get back to you offline as well. I'll share and make some intros there, and then we'll send you the recording tomorrow, the slides, Chris's information, that amazing white paper on tech solutions. And yeah, I hope that you do take advantage of the offer here to talk with Chris and figure out, even if you're not ready now, what would be a future solution? What would make sense? You should start planning that ASAP. If you're not doing that, you're already behind. And you don't want to be in that position. No matter what market you're in, you're better off at least knowing that you are set up for success. So thank you so much, Chris, for your insights. Really appreciate it. And I hope to have you back soon again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody on the call. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.